Welcome back to the channel. In today's video, we're going to take a look at tight ends. We're going to take a look, first of all, at their points per game, and then their strength of schedule from weeks 1 through 11. Take a look at potentially who's been overperforming, underperforming, and the like. Then we're going to take a look at strength of schedule from weeks 15 through 17, the actual fantasy playoffs, and try to deduce who might be a good buy, hold, or sell based on these factors. There's going to be a little bit of nuance with some guys for sure, but let's take a look. Taking a look at the tight ends and specifically their weeks 1 through 11 points per game, that's how I have them sorted currently, as well as their weeks 1 through 11 strength of schedule. At the top, kind of in his own tier, we have Trey McBride, who has had an extremely advantageous strength of schedule, to be fair. But he's also, one of the best tight ends. And I do want to say before the season, I predicted him to be the tight end one. You can reference that in my McBride versus Bowers versus Kittle video from months ago. So that take happened to pan out here for sure. Then kind of second, I would really regard Bowers in his own tier as well. He's had a slightly advantageous strength of schedule, but nothing crazy. Jake Ferguson is third with 14 points per game. Now, to add some context to that, to be fair, he had CD Lamb out, and whenever CD Lamb is out with injury, he goes bonkers. But, when CD plays, he's definitely not a top tier tight end by any means for fantasy, but he's done so with a slightly disadvantageous strength of schedule. Travis Kelce is next at 13.9 with a negative 12.4%. That's a pretty bad strength of schedule. Tyler Warren is next with 13.6, despite having a pretty decently bad strength of schedule himself with negative 8.5%. We go down a little bit. Darren Waller, despite having a negative 13.7 strength of schedule, although he only played a select handful of games, also to be fair, is at 11.4 points per game. Dalton Schultz has had the benefit of a relatively easy strength of schedule at plus 8%. He's at 10.6 points per game. Harold Fannin has had the single individual easiest strength of schedule for any tight end, along with David Njoku, who, to be fair, as a rookie, he is out producing in his own offense at 9.9 points per game. Once again, then we also, at the very bottom, you'll notice Cade Otton is down at 7.5 points per game with a negative 10.4% strength of schedule. We'll have to see if potentially that gets a little bit easier for him, but at the same time, he's been producing recently after a little bit of a slow start to the season. And now we take a look at the strength of schedule from weeks 15 through 17. I have it sorted by that as opposed to the weeks 1 through 11 points per game as shown earlier. Well, we see that I would consider Waller, Warren, and Andrews kind of in their own tier. All three of them have fantastic playoff schedules. And so for Tyler Warren, yeah, buddy. Then we move to kind of the next tier where I'd consider Mason Taylor, AJ Barner, and Sam Laporta to be in. A very, very, very friendly strength of schedule. If you remember, there was not a single player who over the duration of the first 11 weeks had over a 16%. That was the top. So all three of these are very, very friendly strength of schedules, despite how much easier the top three guys have it than they do. Kind of in a general tier after that, I'd consider Strange, Fant, and Kittle to have enough of a positive strength of schedule for it to particularly mean something. Then we kind of have, Kyle Pitts all the way through, I'd say, Jake Ferguson, where it's slightly advantageous or slightly disadvantageous, but not enough to where you should be panicking because of the strength of schedule in and of itself. Then we kind of have Theo Johnson, Fannin, and Njoku. Obviously, Fannin and Njoku, same team, with a somewhat distinct disadvantage in terms of their strength of schedule, but nothing that's insanely worrying. And then once we get from Zach Ertz all the way to Dallas Goedert, that is a significantly disadvantageous strength of schedule for those guys. Now, some of these guys are very talented players, but if you could potentially make some trades to relatively equivalent values at tight end, it might make a little bit of sense. And I want to give a special shout out to my Patreon members. Thank you to Big Hunt, SP, Mage Jack, Infamy MTG, AOYOB, and The Dawn. Without your support, this would not be possible. As you're probably well aware if you've been watching my videos for a while, I cannot get monetized because of the film breakdowns I do, and even just the little videos I have where I have clips of plays in them. They get demonetized every single time, making it, therefore, impossible to collect any revenue. So, obviously, your support is greatly appreciated. And if you are so inclined to become a member, the perks would be you will get access to a private Discord where we have both a real life and fantasy football chat, as well as a voice chat if you just don't want to have to type a bunch of stuff. I'll also give you detailed roster breakdowns and roster reviews where we talk about the strengths and weaknesses of your team. Then we kind of break it down further by looking into the scoring settings themselves and the starting lineup requirements to help you build the best team to help you dominate for years to come. In both Dynasty and then in Redraft, obviously, I'd help you with a good solid game plan, especially if you know where you're drafting from. Then also give you detailed trade advice based on your specific league settings to help you dominate. Also give you access to private live streams and the ability to not only see videos at least one day early, but also the ability to suggest videos that you would like to be created. So if you would like to support the channel, I would really appreciate it. If not, just please like and subscribe. Let's get back to the video. And now I have all of these factors put together, along with, at least in my opinion, a verdict for these players. And I have it sorted by weeks 1 through 11 points per game. So you kind of have your studs at the top and then kind of, streaming options towards the bottom, right? So we have Trey McBride, who is leading in terms of points per game pretty significantly. He had an extremely advantageous strength of schedule throughout the first couple of weeks, or first 11 weeks. And then it's a plus 1.4%. I still think he's a serious buy because it's not brutal. And if you can get him, I absolutely would. With Brock Bowers, I think that he's a hold. I think if you could trade him 1-for-1 for Trey McBride, which I don't know if you could even get done, I would probably do it because of how brutal his strength of schedule is. It's more of an indictment on the team than his own talent per se, but at the same time, I'm not trading Brock Bowers for somebody like Mason Taylor just because he has an easy strength of schedule. So understand that some of these verdicts, it's kind of, compared to other players that you would consider in the same tier as each other. I'm not suggesting that you trade the tight end 1 for the tight end 30 because the tight end 30 has a good strength of schedule, right? Obviously. Then, Ferguson, I think, is a decent hold because I still think he has a good amount of upside. I don't know if you could sell him for one of the more difference-making type of players. Travis Kelce, I think, is a sell high or just hold in general because as bad as his strength of schedule was before, it's significantly worse after that. Tyler Warren, I think, is the single best buy for us in redraft leagues for the fantasy football playoffs. He has the second easiest strength of schedule, and he's been performing very, very well and been a difference maker and quite consistent, I might add, while doing so with a negative 8.5%, and then going from that to the second highest and distinctly advantageous strength of schedule makes him a fantastic buy. I think Kittle's another good buy because while he definitely had his injury concerns towards kind of the middle beginning of the season, he's come back. He's looked really good. So I do think that he, is a good buy, and he also has a decent strength of schedule that gets even easier. I think that, Goddard and Kincaid are good sell highs or holds. With Sam Laporta, I think that he's a buy if you believe that he's going to return for the fantasy playoffs. There's definitely some risk there, but he's a very good tight end. And if he is to come back, in week 15 and you have him for the entirety of the fantasy playoffs, I think that could be a distinct advantage for you if you don't have one of these top tier guys. I think that Oronde Gadsden is a potential good sell high or hold if you can't get good value. And somebody within the general same tier, like say a Tyler Warren, you might be able to swing because his strength of schedule gets pretty brutal. Moving down, I think that Mark Andrews is a serious buy because he's gone from having a negative 8.7 up to a 29%. That is fantastic. He's somewhat touchdown dependent, but I do think that him being in a great offense, if you can't get one of these top tier guys, is a great value. I think that Harold Fannin, who's going from a plus 13 down to -6, is a good sell higher. If you can't get anything good from him, just hold because he's talented type of player. Moving down a little bit, I think that Brenton Strange, who has missed a good portion of this season with injury, is a solid buy because his strength of schedule is going to be pretty easy. And I think he could get peppered by Trevor Lawrence. Then one player that I would really be looking to buy is going to be Mason Taylor because his strength of schedule goes from plus 6.1% all the way up to 18.2%. And then he's also getting the added benefit of Tyrod Taylor, being a starting quarterback as opposed to Justin Fields, which in terms of the actual passing game in and of itself, I do think that's going to be advantageous to him. And then also Garrett Wilson's going to be out. So he's going to be fed number 1 targets in my opinion. So yeah, where do you agree? Where do you disagree? Let me know below in the comments section. And so, with all of that being said, if you would be so kind, I would really appreciate you if you would support me via my Patreon. I'm unable to collect any revenue from YouTube because I do these film breakdowns. And if you do not wish to or cannot afford to, if you could just like the video, subscribe to the channel, potentially leave a comment below, I would really appreciate it. I hope you guys are able to get some trades done if your trade deadline potentially hasn't happened already. I hope you make the playoffs, make it to the championship, smash the championship, win yourself some money, and just have a fun time doing it. So yeah, thank you and have a good day.